So, morning, Jo.
Morning.
Welcome to Emanations of Love.
Thank you.
And I'm really grateful that you're here today
Thanks.
to share your story and journey with cancer, having been diagnosed with breast cancer in 2012. So, before we begin, perhaps we can just allow ourselves to arrive.
Okay.
Close our eyes and just take a moment to drop into our hearts. Allowing the breath to soften and flow naturally. Just take 3 breaths together. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Okay, right back. So, Jo, where would you like to begin?
I guess at the beginning. So I was diagnosed with breast cancer in November 2012. And as most people would have experienced in a similar situation, it came as a complete and utter shock. I didn't believe the results. I was really skeptical and I was very frightened and very angry. I went into a kind of panic and turmoil about the prospect, not only of being diagnosed, but of more fearful, in a sense, to the potential treatment that I may have to face.
What were the circumstances that led up to the diagnosis? What were the symptoms that you were having?
I had no symptoms whatsoever. It was a routine mammogram on a bus in a nearby town in Cornwall, Truro in Cornwall.
Okay.
And I was asked to go in, having become 50 is a sort of standard age that women are asked to get screened for breast cancer. It's kind of one of their kind of protocols, if you like.
Yeah.
So I was just one of a list who become 50 and I was due to get checked.
Okay.
So that added to the kind of surprise, really, because I had no symptoms, no pain, no idea whatsoever.
Yeah.
I really felt I was living a very healthy and happy life, apart from my job, which was very, very stressful. Having had the kind of results and gone back for more tests and things at the local breast cancer clinic, it appeared that I did have some small, low-level stage 1 cancerous growth in my right breast. And as I said, panic just set in about the idea of having surgery, chemo, radiation, any of it. It was just like, oh my God, I'm just terrified of the prospect. So it didn't really take me too long to feel that I was going to avoid that at all costs and that I would find a way somehow to cure myself. I've been into quite a lot of natural health prior to the diagnosis, and I knew the kind of value and effectiveness of certain natural health interventions, particularly homeopathy and batch flower remedies, of which I was very familiar with. My sister lives in Spain, and she's very much of the alternative health camp as well. She knew a girl in Spain who had managed to clear herself with breast cancer using natural medicines and therapies herself. And I was invited to go out to Spain and meet her.
Okay.
So I did that almost 2 weeks after I got diagnosed. I
Yeah.
flew out to Spain, stayed with my sister. I met this lovely lady, Rachel, and through her and my sister, I learned loads and loads and loads about all the phenomenally amazing things you can do to treat yourself with regard to cancer, including the diet, you know, a very sort of strict vegan diet, alkaline base, and a sort of whole range of sort of natural health protocols and practices, including cannabis oil. So that was one of my starting points, apart from the kind of basics, if you like, around diet and juicing and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I, you know, was looking for some effective alternative natural treatment to deal with cancerous growths, if you like.
Okay.
So I was introduced to a guy called Rick Simpson, who is famous. He's written, he has a sort of video called, or film called Run from the Cure. And he's very famous. He's a Canadian guy, and he has been advocating for the effectiveness of cannabis oil with treating cancer for many years, and has helped people enormously to succeed with that. So I was fortunate to meet a guy in Spain through my sister and my friend Rachel, who was working in conjunction with the Barcelona University in the effectiveness of medicinal cannabis, especially using it for cancer.
Okay.
So I was very fortunate to take him to the hills in a village near where my sister lived, and this friend Rachel, and met him, and he told me through some interpretation from my sister how to make the oil, how to use the oil, and that in his opinion that would help go a long way in helping to clear the cancer from myself.
So from the plant.
Yes. So this recommendation from him is to not use any kind of modern hydroponic kind of under lights kind of cannabis. Many of the commercial stuff.
Propagation.
But absolutely to get ideally completely wild cannabis that is almost grows wild in the hills near where he lived. So and to get, it's very low grade. It grows in the soil. It grows in the sunshine. And you use the whole plant, because the whole plant has all the medicine, if you like. There's a kind of strong belief amongst the cannabis oil advocates that many of our modern illnesses, or the increase of modern illnesses, has come about since cannabis was made illegal in most countries of the world. So we have cannabinoid receptors within ourselves. So it's true, it's evidence that human beings are designed to intake cannabis. And it was once part of our diet, part of our lives.
Through hemp.
Making fabrics and all sorts of things. And since that was made either decriminalised or illegal in many countries, that the chronic illnesses have escalated amongst the Westerners especially. So I managed to acquire the ingredients. I made the oil out there, and I got the oil back to the UK, separate from myself, of course. And it arrived 2 days before Christmas 2012. And then I embarked on I had about 35 grams of oil. So you build it up gradually, like a little grain of rice kind of size, and you build it up very gradually, and then you get to 1 gram a day of oil. And then you need to sustain that for at least 3 weeks.
Okay.
I was very hopeful that it would work. You know, I thought, wow, this is just a dream come true, but it didn't work. And I kept going back to the hospital, and they kept saying, it hasn't made any difference. I felt phenomenally disheartened by that. And then, as I do, I tend to get very knocked back by things quite easily. And then I kind of get back on my feet going, I'm going to do this. I'm going to find a way. So then I got back on the computer and back with my alternative practitioners, and got back on the research kind of treadmill, if you like, and started searching for other treatments. So and really that's been my way all the way through my experience, my journey with this. it took me 5 years almost to the day from the diagnosis to get my for the lump to become benign,
Yeah.
and all the cancer markers cleared from my system, so that I knew I no longer had active or malignant cancer in my body. I literally tried one thing after another,
Yeah.
and if I could afford it, number one, because I've always had very little money to pay for things.
Right.
Obviously,
Yeah.
none of it is free, like
Yeah.
it is with the NHS. So, it's been a struggle all the way through financially. Of course, I haven't been earning money for all that time either, and being dependent on benefits. So, I've literally had to sell every single thing I've owned, really, all my jewellery, my house, everything, really. And in order to pay for things as I've gone along, I'm still left with huge amounts of debts anyway. But
right,
it's basically it worked, and I've saved my own life. So
yeah.
It's been worth it every step of the way.
So then,
Mhm.
as a rite of passage, it's
Mm.
brought out immense resilience in you. Would you say?
Yes, I think I kind of have that anyway. I mean, I have mentioned in previous testimonials that I'm an incredibly stubborn person, and
Right.
yeah, so I will do it my way,
Yeah.
That is in me anyway. But of course, this whole process made me even more determined to do so. And in fact, for the entire journey, I never found anyone who had just cured themselves from cancer with natural health alone.
Okay.
Every single person, including my dear friend in Spain, who did subsequently die,
Right.
because she had some radiation treatment very early on, and she feels that actually triggered a kind of a bad response in her body.
Okay.
And unbeknown to her, the cancer was returning. So,
yeah.
So yeah.
So if you could sort of mention the ones that you feel have been the most transformative and beneficial for you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What of the treatments?
Of the treatments that you came across and researched.
Okay. I say homeopathy has been key all the way through, and I've had some phenomenally good homeopaths who have really gone right through my past and identified all the well-known kind of emotions that are linked with cancer, such as resentment, grief, shame, fear-based kind of emotions, which can, kind of create a toxic environment in your body. So, and I've struggled massively with a lot of those feelings. So that really helped me initially and all the way through. But again, it didn't appear to be enough on its own, homeopathy, for me.
Okay.
The Bach flower remedies, again, a great emotional support all the way through. They deal with different forms of emotions, and I'm very familiar with them. So I've self-treated myself to keep myself psychologically kind of all right.
Yeah.
But I was still searching for other things, and I felt I needed some more physical things really at that level. I was mostly looking at the physical, apart from some of my unhealthy emotions. Some of the physical kind of interventions I did the hyperbolic oxygen chambers. So oxygen kills bacteria and cancer cells. And so I managed to find quite a cheap, I could self-refer to a local MS centre in Cornwall.
Okay.
And I used to go there, and it was £11 an hour, so it was quite cheap, really,
that's
in the
great.
grand scheme of things. So I used to go and do that. I met two girls there who both had breast cancer, who were doing it for the same reason. So that was reassuring. And then I also heard about mistletoe. It's been used for centuries in Europe as an effective treatment for cancer. It's a mild poison, but it has phenomenal curative properties. And I learned that different mistletoes have different qualities depending on what trees they go on.
Okay.
And so for breast cancer, you need it to be growing in the pine tree. For other types of cancer, I think for lungs, you need oak. It needs to grow in oak.
Right.
So I guess, I don't know, oak trees and lungs are quite kind of big trees, big lungs. I don't know. pine as a batch flower remedy is a kind of quite a sort of self-pity type of
Okay.
condition. So this kind of poor me, victimized, kind of, that's the pine energy, if you like. So it kind of fits with breast cancer in a sense.
Do you feel that it does?
Yeah, yeah. It was very hard to get mistletoe in this country because it's one of many things that's happened around the world, that when natural cures are found, or natural treatments, I should say, have been found effective against cancer, they often become difficult to obtain. Even something like mistletoe, which grows in our trees naturally,
Yeah.
to actually find a mistletoe treatment or tincture was incredibly difficult. And I'd have to go and see a private doctor in Devon, who was he was qualified as a mainstream GP doctor, but also he practiced acupuncture, homeopathy, and mistletoe treatment.
Yeah.
So, but it costs, £300 a time to see him. I had to drive 200 miles, so 100 miles there and back, and it was very costly. And I was so frustrated with the fact that it's a herb, it grows in our trees, and yet I have to pay all this money. So that sent me on a journey. Subsequently, we went out to Spain to see my husband's sister in 2000. Oh gosh, my memory now. Sorry, 2016, 17.
Okay.
2017. Yeah, March 2017. So I've been into my 5th year by then.
Okay.
I was seemed to all the way through keep it at bay. Nothing got worse, any of that. I stopped going to the hospital by this point.
Okay.
And so it was more difficult to monitor myself, but I couldn't deal with how the conventional cancer treatment people treated me.
Right.
I felt quite bullied and ridiculed and unsupported. So
okay.
I used to come away in pieces from there. So I stopped going because it was just so bad for me.
Yeah.
And then when we went to Spain, I thought you can get a lot of things over the counter in Spain. It's much more relaxed with obtaining things.
Okay.
So I went on this big search with my sister-in-law, who speaks Spanish out there, my husband's sister, and she took me to about 6 different herbalists, and eventually the last lady we saw said, I can get mistletoe, but I can do something much better for you.
Right.
Again, I need a Rebecca to translate because I don't speak Spanish well enough. But we spent an hour there, and even my sister-in-law, who's quite skeptical of natural health, was very impressed and convinced by what she was telling us.
Okay.
So that was called the Dr. Holder Clark protocol. And that I do feel actually really did it for me. So one of the great comforting things about that protocol is that Dr. Holder Clark, I think, was the Belgian doctor in the 20s, I think, something like that. She discovered that all chronic illness manifests from bacterial origins. And I do believe that, actually. So and basically, Dr. Holder Clark worked with energies, frequencies. So she devised a small device called a zapper. And the zapper is a frequency reader and generator, if you like. And so with one simple saliva sample, like taking a DNA test, you can measure, or practitioners can measure with a zapper exactly all the frequencies that exist in that one saliva sample. Every single thing that exists in your body is showing up on a report. And I couldn't believe it when I received the report 2 weeks later back in the UK. There were like 4 pages of every single thing in my entire body. I had 26 cancer markers still. And I had chronically infected teeth and root canals. Now, this is one of the key things to Dr. Holder Clark's theories, was that because bacteria can be stored and hidden inside root canals, once your nerve is removed, as when they do a root canal, they take your nerve out and then they block it up, you have no idea and no pain, because you've got no nerve, that there is chronic infection going on in there, and it can be in there for decades. And there's quite a lot of scientific evidence to prove that there are links between cancer and root canals because of the bacterial content that remains unknown in the body. And so, because there's no nerve there, the white blood cells don't go there to go, let's clear this bacteria out of your teeth, which you normally would, because it can't feel anything. So I had to ultimately, in order, before I even started the proper Holder Clark detoxification,
Yeah.
I had to have 5 teeth removed, which is why I don't talk that well now, because I've got like hardly any teeth on this side, and I've got a false one here, which that was a root canal I had when I was 18. So this is like, 40 years later almost.
Okay.
And another one that was done more recently, and they were so chronically infected. Once I had those removed, there were also in the report, you get a full mouth and teeth report initially with the Holder Clark protocol, as well as the body. And the bacteria that was inside one of my root canals was the same bacteria as inside the tumour. These reports tell you exactly what is inside each tooth,
Right.
and inside any lump or growth or cyst you've got, so what type of bacteria is in there. So once I had that root canal out,
Yeah.
this bacteria in my breast went. It didn't.
Okay.
The whole tumour didn't go at that point.
Yeah.
But that reduced enormously all the bacteria, well, especially out of my mouth, because they were gone. I had a very special holistic dentist. It took me a long time to find him.
Yeah.
And he lives at nearly 300 miles from where I live, but he's worth it. And he knew about the Dr. Holder Clark protocol.
Right.
He did his own research into my mouth.
Yeah.
And he had the same results. So that was good enough for me.
Yeah.
So I went with him, and I went with the Dr. Holder Clark protocol.
Okay.
And I did very intensive, 20 pills a day of all herbal, no pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
Wouldn't touch them with a barge pole. All
Which
amazing
was specifically
things.
aligned to you from this report.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So
Okay.
certain herbs kill certain parasites, or you've
Yeah.
got heavy metals in you.
Yeah.
All these things are toxic, and all these things add to the toxicity in your body.
Yeah.
Mercury fillings, of course, are full of toxicity. That
Yeah.
actually, who the hell thought to put mercury in your tooth? It will go straight into your bloodstream and poison you.
Yeah.
Mercury fillings are very, very dangerous.
Yeah.
The UK is one of the few countries that still actually does them. Most of European countries actually ban them, but the UK uses them quite willingly because they're cheap.
Yeah.
And they're in denial about it. So I had to have all of those out.
Yeah.
And then the detoxification started. So I did the first month's detox after the teeth.
Yeah.
Did another saliva sample test. You can do all this by post, by the way.
Okay.
You just do it in a little sealed thing in some special water and alcohol, specially prepared. You get the instructions from the practitioner.
Yeah.
Wrap it in tin foil and put it in the post. So the tin foil stops any X-rays on the journey of the postal system to prevent anything affecting the sample you've sent. So the second test I had done, my cancer markers had halved. So they were down to like 12 or 13 from 26.
Okay.
I did another month treatments, and again down to 6 or 7, halved again. In the 4th month, the lump became benign. And one of the indicators to finding that out is that when the body creates something in the body and it becomes very toxic, like cancer, the body will produce a hormone called HCG, and that is to protect the alien thing in your body from being rejected or attacked by white blood cells. It's a sort of clever thing that cancer does. This hormone gets created, so the body can't recognize this alien thing in you that you should get rid of. It thinks it's part of you, and the same hormone is produced when you're pregnant. Basically, it will stop, a woman rejecting their baby, if you like, for want of a better word, because the hormone will say this baby is part of you, don't reject it. And you can actually very cheaply, and the people use this in the States when they haven't got medical insurance, you can actually test whether you have cancer, malignant cancer, or cancer cells by using a pregnancy test. So yeah. Now it's not effective for women for women who may be pregnant as well. Because it's measuring the HCG hormone. That's what the pregnancy tests do. They measure if there's an HCG hormone there, which would confirm that you have a baby generally, and that it's you've got a baby and it's protected, so it's got the HCG hormone being produced. And the higher the HCG hormone level, the more with the cancer,
Yeah.
the more malignant your cancer is.
Okay.
So very low level HCG will just indicate some abnormal cells, but there's a kind of level mark of 50 something or something. And once you're 50 and above, it's become malignant, and this hormone has become bigger to protect the lump.
Right.
And not
Okay.
reject it. And I found I found the way to, this is before I came across the Holder-Clark technique.
Okay.
I had no way of monitoring myself because I wouldn't go to the hospital anymore. I didn't want the mammograms and all the radiation and stuff and the humiliation.
Right.
So I found a clinic in the Philippines called the Navarro Clinic. Amazing people.
Okay.
A father and son thing.
Yeah.
And you pay $35. You send your urine sample, which they tell you how to prepare, send it to Manila, pay them. And then a week later, it comes back with their HGV. That's what HCG hormone level.
Okay.
So my first ones, all my results from there were never out of the 50. So 50 means you've got cancer. Below 50 means abnormal cells or early pregnancy, maybe, sort of thing. But and then as the levels go up, you've got more and more serious cancer. Mine was never more than 56, and it came down as low as 51 point something. So it was virtually gone, and that's what I used to gauge myself until I found out about the saliva samples of Holder-Clark.
Right. Okay.
Which were more accurate.
Yeah.
So that's what I used to use.
To intersect that, if you took a pregnancy test now, if and I knew that I couldn't possibly be pregnant, and it was positive, then
you would have cancerous cells.
Okay.
And if they're over, if you got if it's below 50.
Yeah.
Oh no, so if it's just a pregnancy test.
Yeah, because it wouldn't be specific.
Yeah, I don't know what. That's a good point. I imagine it's about the 50 mark that it would say that it's positive.
Right.
I don't know enough about the pregnancy test, to be honest, because I never used one myself.
No.
Apart from years ago.
when you were pregnant.
But I think I don't know what level, but it would indicate.
Be an indicator.
It would be it would be quite If it showed positive when you absolutely knew you weren't pregnant, or for a man to do it, of course. Then you've definitely got some cancer.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's good to know, though, isn't it?
And people use that in America when they can't afford tests and treatment.
Yeah. Okay.
So so after the 4th month of the treatment, the HCG hormone had left my body.
Yeah.
So then what my practitioner said is you still have bacteria, and because the protective shell has gone from the tumour, your breast will then flood with the bacteria, and then we have to clear that out.
Okay.
So that's what I did, another month of intensive treatment, including zapping at this point. So the zapping is a similar device to what she uses.
Yeah.
You've got little straps on your wrists. It doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
And you've got zapping plates and energized bottles. It's a bit like homeopathy.
Yeah.
One's energized to target the right breast. So you have a strap on your right arm, which sends a frequency up underneath the skin to your right breast.
Yeah.
And on the left zapping plate, you've got different things: white blood cells, blood, veins and arteries and stuff, and potentially any of the bacteria that have been identified in the tests.
Okay.
To then those energies come together, those frequencies come together up the straps, up the wires, under your skin, and target the right breast. So those frequencies will join in the right breast to kill that bacteria, or clean those white blood cells, or clean the blood there, or clean the lymph nodes, lymph glands.
Yeah.
And so and you can do that for what she's instructed me to do, up to 5 hours a day. So it's a long time to sit.
And you purchased this machine?
Yeah. It was about £200. And I used that for one, then I dropped it and broke it, and I was just gutted again, distraught.
God. Yeah.
So I can't afford another one. And anyway, I got in touch with a guy who works for drholderclark.com in Germany.
Right.
He was on holiday and he contacted me at 11 at night, this director of this company, saying, I've got a reconditioned one. I'll get them sent to you. You can have it for 80 quid.
Okay.
So that instead of another 200-300 quid, I got another replacement, which I've still got.
Okay.
So I make sure I don't drop it.
Yeah.
And so I still use that. I haven't done for a bit, you know, you kind of come and go with your treatments.
Yeah.
But, I did a lot of time with that. But basically after the 5th month, all my cancer markers cleared and the lump has remained benign ever since.
Wow.
And it's now 2.5 years, 3 years now, 3 years in November.
Okay.
That I got the all clear, and I'm still clear.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And you've written a book, haven't you? Have you?
I have drafted a book. I've written quite a lot of it.
Yeah.
I did a pretty big book proposal for Hay House Publishers, who are a very famous self-help publishing house. I went to an incredibly inspiring writers' workshop in Birmingham last year. Really inspiring. I got up in front of the crowd. There were 300 people there. Terrified of public speaking, but I managed to get up and ask some questions and tell them a little bit about my background.
Yeah.
And I got kind of a standing ovation, which was like amazing and terrifying all at once. And loads of encouragement. So I put in a book proposal for that to them.
Okay.
And I've sent it off to another publisher in Scotland as well.
Right. Okay.
Similar self-help.
And the doTERRA oils, which we can link another video to, can't we?
Yeah. So
where did they come into the journey?
Okay, so essential oils I used a little bit of through my regime and before and since. Not massively familiar with those, but I knew the therapeutic qualities, as long as you get kind of really good quality ones. The market is very variable and the qualities vary a lot. So you have to be very careful. And most of them say that you can't ingest them at all and you shouldn't put them directly on your skin either. But I subsequently found from some reliable suppliers that there were 1 or 2 that could be ingested. And then I kind of, with all things to do with this, because I've been so immersed in natural health ever since my diagnosis, it's something I've not stopped doing, obviously. So as soon as I find out about something new, I'm like, oh, right, let's check that out. That sounds amazing. And my latest thing, if you like, is essential oils. And I've become very, very convinced and very impressed with a certain make of essential oils called doTERRA, which means of the earth. And they're a very big reputable company. They're the world leaders of essential oils, and they have therapeutic grade oils. So most of them are very safe to ingest. And most of them are very safe to put on your skin, sometimes with a diluting oil, such as coconut oil.
Right.
They're safe to use for children and pets as long as they're in a diluted form. But one of the things that was left with me, even beyond my all clear, if you like, was massive levels of anxiety. I never really regarded myself as an anxious person before the diagnosis. I just became a bag of nerves, and that didn't really leave. Even after I cleared all the cancer, I was still a bit of a wreck. And I use a herb called ashwagandha, which is amazing, and orange essential oil is very uplifting and good for depression, and lavender, of course, is well known for its calming effects. But I was fairly amateur in the essential oils world. So I then came across an advert on social media about joining doTERRA as a wellness advocate, and after much kind of umming and ahhing and sort of wariness on my part, because I'm just wary, I eventually decided to get involved with them, and it's been a fantastic decision. It's a great organisation. It's huge. They're so supportive. I'm with a wonderful group of people, and we're very close. We communicate a lot. We're running classes, and we're kind of promoting a new kind of launch in India at the moment, because the doTERRA oils are in many countries throughout the world, but not India yet. So they're due to launch those next year, and we're busy promoting a pre-launch thing to get some wellness advocates on board before the launch happens. So I'm working very hard at that now, and I love it. And more importantly, the oils are phenomenal. I have all my anxiety and depression have gone. Right. I mean, they've just vanished. You know, I've been using the oils now for about 4 or 5 months. Yeah. I've given them to friends. I've used them on my animals. They're amazing. And, you know, I've noticed such a difference in my ongoing health, and especially my mental health. Yeah. And so, and I wouldn't speak highly of them if I didn't believe that. I wouldn't even got involved with them if I didn't believe that. Yeah. So it feels a great thing to be doing now, and just right in my journey with natural health. So your journey has been quite evolutionary, really. Yeah. This right? Would you call it a rite of passage? Do you feel for you? I don't know. What you mean? What I was here from the diagnosis of having cancer, that threat of. I guess you know, I set out to cure myself first and foremost. And to avoid all that horrible conventional treatment at all costs. So you know, that's been my driving force, the fear of that treatment, really, the fear of having that treatment. Sorry, I'll call it. Sorry. But I now feel, you know, maybe it's a bit cliche, you know, this is my life's journey or whatever. But I don't know, maybe this is what this was about. Maybe this journey is about learning all about this natural health and sharing my knowledge with others. And what I would say, and I say it to everyone that asks me, that I'm so happy to tell you my story and share all the information I've got, but I absolutely must impress on everyone, this is a journey you must do yourself if you choose to do this. I can't tell you what to do. I can't even tell, you know, I believe the Hulda Clark thing did it for me in the end. I think everything else that went along before that helped keep it at bay. And it didn't get worse, it didn't spread, and I never got really ill, ironically, never. So I know everything helped. Yeah. But at the end of the day, you know, I couldn't possibly, wouldn't dream of telling someone else what to do about their diagnosis or what they should do. All I would do is say, you hear my story, I'll share my information. It's up to you. You've got to find out. You're the only person that can actually cure yourself. I do believe that. No, I don't think anyone can cure you and to find the meaning in that journey. And one lovely description I heard some time ago was that the definition of incurable, as mainstream medicine often say about cancer and other illnesses, that an illness is incurable, but actually incurable means to cure from within. So, and I love that because I do believe that. So you can do all the exterior and get all the people from outside of you to help you and treat you and do this and do that, but actually no one really knows you as well as you do. And only you're the only one that can know what your instincts are telling you. You know, my instincts aren't going to be right for yours, you know. So, you know, it's the core to this journey is learn about yourself, learn about your condition, work out why and what origins came about for your body to manifest this, because our bodies make cancer for a reason. Well, they become toxic, and then the toxic cells become cancerous, and that's the body creating it, and through our mind processes and environmental influences, those will all impact on us. But it's mostly what is within your inner core that is the key, which is unique to you. It's like the festering of things. So the final part of your journey, you were using actually on the skin, actually on the tumor. Yes. So I after the tumor, you're gone. No. You were okay. So the tumor, so I still had a lump, right?
Yeah.
And the lump still hurts sometimes, and I was like, it was all kind of covered over, and it was, it's under the skin and everything, as it always has been.
Yeah.
But I just thought, actually, I want to get rid of the lump because it's still a lump, and I don't want it there. So I then embarked on, I found a herbalist, an incredible man in the New Forest, and he very, very wise man, and he provides a lot of herbal treatments that he prepares himself, and one is called black salve. Now, it's highly controversial, like many alternative natural treatments. And it's very difficult to acquire. Many practitioners weren't going to put their name to it. I won't name my gentleman here, but he is someone that strongly advocates that this does work. And so I decided to do it, and he was he's phenomenally supportive. So you get a paste, you put it on the area, and it basically targets just the infected cells, whether it's bacterial or cancer or somewhere in between. And it literally only targets those damaged cells, those toxic cells, and it draws the toxicity to the surface of the skin. It burns, it tingles, it makes you feel debilitated. It's very draining. And basically it's quite yucky. And eventually you get these kind of little pussy things on your surface of where the wound is. You can't do this on very deep tumours, by the way. You certainly couldn't do it, kind of in your inner.
Okay, so it's
it's only so skin cancer, yes, I think, and breast cancer if it's near the surface. I'm not sure what other else, but yes, lumps near the surface, you could do that. I was given massive tonics to take alongside it, and things that would kill any rogue cells that were escaping, if you like. But basically it forms a scab eventually, and then the scab comes off, and this whole yucky grey yuck, sort of, you can just tell how poisonous all the cells are, comes clean out. It's like weird, and you're left with this raw hole, right? All healthy cells, none of them damaged, not one of the healthy cells damaged, but all the poisons have come out. But so I did that, and it healed over, but it was still there. So about a year later I did it again, and some more came out. Then I left it again, and then I did some a year ago. So the last sort of 3 years I've done that. I've just done some this time last year was my last time with that. It took an even bigger lump out. I didn't realize how many unhealthy cells were still there. They weren't cancer, well, they weren't malignant anyway, but all that needs to come out. And so I still have a hole, actually.
It's worth saying that, isn't it?
Which of course, and so there's still bacteria there. But I'm still glad it doesn't hurt anymore. And I'm glad it hasn't sealed over, because I don't want it all trapped in there again, and I don't want to do the salving again, because it's too harsh, actually. So I'm glad my body has purposely not sealed it over again.
Absolutely.
And so I can get to it. I use essential oils on it. I use colloidal silver on it. I use ozonized water, which is oxygen in water. I've got an ozonizer. And all of those, vitamin C, they'll all kill the bacteria as well. So I'm still working on that. It's shrunk a lot. I'm hopefully getting to the end stages of that. And that when all the crap, if you like, is out, my body will naturally heal over again. And hopefully I won't even have a scar.
Well,
that's what I'm hoping. But I'm still not quite there yet.
No, we it's, as you said, it's constantly evolving and ongoing. And we were talking this morning about you connecting with perhaps the next stage you feel is that that inner love, really connecting with that. Am I right in saying that? Is that what you're?
Love's a bit of a tricky one for me. It's something I've struggled with. I didn't experience that much love as a child. I've been quite a closed off person, quite guarded, even in my long-term relationships. But I do realise, and I did realise, during my journey and still working on stuff from way back when, and all sorts of deep emotional stuff, unhealthy thought processes, negative thoughts towards myself, that really, until you clear those completely away from yourself, and as you say, can then kind of allow the love to manifest or come up or grow or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, that really is one of the big stages I'm at now, because, and that's maybe why the slump hasn't cleared anyway, because I've still got some poisonous thoughts in me, victimized thoughts about myself. And so this morning, in fact, I had a very therapeutic session with a dear friend who's a therapist as well, helping me to regress, if you like, back to some maybe early on childhood issues that could be the very root cause of
Which
this.
is
Yeah,
phenomenal, isn't
yeah. So that I'm kind of doing that now. You know, I as I said, you arrive at these things as and when you do. You know, you can't do it all at once, but I do feel this is hopefully the final part now.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's great. So finally, perhaps you could, we will have in the link somewhere the information on the doTERRA oils, the previous interview, that will be there.
Yes.
Is there any other information you'd like to give on how people can access some of your information, Jo?
Well, I'm a bit slack on social media. I don't like the thing really, but I know it's a tool that we need. I have, you know, I have a basic, I've got a few Facebook pages with my theme is called Naturally Nurturing. So I have Naturally Nurturing Life, which is the first page, and a blog I set up a few years ago. But I have to confess it's not very up to date. I put things on it now and again. It's one of my kind of dreams to get that more developed and have more information on it. At the moment, I've been concentrating so much with the oils. It's taken up a lot of my time. So I've slightly neglected my other pages, if you like. I've got Naturally Nurturing Dogs, because I'm a dog obsessed person. So I've got lots of treatments to help animals as well, natural treatments, obviously.
Yeah.
And it is my intention to share much more online about what I've learned.
Yeah.
And my book, I mean, I've written, you know, my book proposals are 50,000 words or something, but it's not finished yet either.
Okay.
And I believe that it's a project for self-publishing, and I really want to do that as well. So, but you know, somehow the days go by. But it's sitting there in my office going, come on, get on with your book as well.
Yeah.
And I've got a vision of how I want my book to be. I've got quotes on self-publishing and printing and stuff. So, you know, I've got information, and I need to keep going with that one as well.
So that will be available
at the moment.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, I'm going to be doing maybe more interviews online. I'm possibly getting involved with some natural health practitioners in India who I'm working with now. And there's hopefully I'm just joining them as well. And they're creating a sort of portal for people and webinars for people to share stories like myself and to help inspire people around the world. Really.
Okay, wonderful.
So plans, but not that much at the moment, really.
Okay, but the main place to contact you, to say, is Naturally
Nurturing Life. Is my Facebook page, and I have got a blog, but it's not got much on it, which is Naturally Nurturing Life. At Blogspot or something. Sorry, I should have that information. But
it's Jo Knight, Naturally Nurturing Life.
Yeah, so my page is Naturally Nurturing Life.
Yeah.
And my profile name on Facebook is Jo Freedom. So if you can't find my page, you should be able to find my profile name. But I do change that sometimes, and I might change it again. So Naturally Nurturing Life Facebook page, you should find it.
Okay, brilliant.
And you should, if you Google it with Blogspot, you should find it, my blog as well.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jo.
Thank you.
Wonderful. So much information.
Well, thanks for inviting me. Thank you.
Until next time.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you.